suppose the conversation today is about the importance of doctors and health professionals taking the time to talk to patients with IPF, both when they're being diagnosed and later when there are critical decisions to make about their care, their treatments, what the options are for them. It's emphasizing the importance of that for me is really what we're about. Well, I had IPF for 8 years. I was diagnosed in 2008, and I was one of the lucky ones. I was approved for and received a lung transplant 11 months ago, and which has completely transformed my life. It's absolutely fantastic. I feel now like I did 5 years ago, but unfortunately, most of my friends and those other people with IPF around the world don't get that chance. At the end of the day, IPF is a really horrible disease. It's a one-way street. Except for the few people like me who can have a transplant or who get a transplant, for most people it's a one-way street, and unfortunately it's a very short street. Many people, if you think that the average life expectancy with IPF is 3 or 4 years, or the median life expectancy, that means half the people diagnosed die before that. There's only 2 cancers where the prognosis is as bad as that: pancreatic cancer and lung cancer. A diagnosis with IPF is worse than any other cancer. Obviously it's difficult to make these comparisons, but it's something we don't think about, and it's a really, somehow we have to raise awareness of this. I think it's difficult to, I could talk about myself as an individual, and for various reasons, at the time the diagnosis came, I don't know whether I didn't quite realize how serious it was. I don't think, this was back in 2008, I don't think the doctor ever said to me, "You've only got 3 to 5 years to live." What she actually said was quite funny. She phoned me up. I was given the diagnosis over the phone, and which was okay because we knew each other well by then, so that didn't worry me that it was over the phone. But she said, "Got good news for you. You haven't got asbestosis." So I said, "I didn't know I might have. You hadn't told me." And she said, "But you've got this thing called IPF." And then, my wife looked into it more than I did. And I think I just kind of said, well, I'm feeling great at the moment. There's nothing wrong with me except a bit of a cough. I'm just going to get on with life. And that was my attitude, my coping mechanism. But my, if you like, emotionally charged periods came later. When we were talking about treatment, when I started to get breathless, when I started to realize this was a serious disease and I was going to die from it, or the odds were I was going to die from it, that's when you go through those kind of I don't know, emotionally charged periods when you talk to a doctor and you don't hear what they say because you're so confused. So fortunately if you have your partner with you, he or she can listen and for you at the same time. But it can be very difficult. And I think the skill on both sides, both the doctors and the nurses' side and the patient side in a way, in how to make the most out of those conversations, because you don't get to see the doctor very often, and you need to make use of those.